Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Something Something podcast and the Smells Like Teen Horror YouTube channel. With me, as always, is Larry Sands. Well, Dylan is missing from from Smells Like Teen Horror, but we've got Larry with us. How's it going, Larry?
Oh man, everything is good. It's good. It's officially when you put this up, we are officially into the summer season, Eric.
Yeah, it's hard to believe. I mean, here in Jersey, we're hitting the 70s right now, which is nice.
Man, for the last week, it's been about 100 here in San Antonio. So,
Jeez. And with
and in
Larry,
Austin and the
what
surrounding. It's like
um
it's like a freaking oven. So yeah.
yeah, man, that's again, I'll remember the winter I spent in Texas because it was the hottest winter I ever had.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Actually, this particular show, I'm glad, that you're putting it up on the Smells Like Teen Horror, right?
Yeah.
Channel because everybody that listens to our podcast, right, or something something knows how much of a fan you are of Wes Craven, in particular.
Yeah, I would go as far to say my favorite director of all time. I mean, I remember when the movie Shocker came out, I was a little kid, not even 10, and I was excited because the guy who did Nightmare on Elm Street is making a new movie. And it's like, why did I know who? I mean, I knew directors like
Right.
the big ones, Spielberg, Lucas, for Coppola, those guys, but horror has always, I mean, I we've talked about this. I almost went into full-time youth ministry, ready to
Yes.
go to Bible college,
Yes.
but stopped to go study film at a community college.
Yes.
I always wanted to make horror, but was like, I'll do family movies, even though I love horror. I was a youth sponsor for over 10 years, which then, you know what? I have a lot of great ways to kill teenagers.
Right. They drove you to horror.
But here's one thing. We're gonna get into our guest. When the new Scream movie was announced, I am a passionate Scream fan. I mean, I have every North American copy of it on VHS, the Women of Scream VHS, and the commentary track VHS, which is impossible to find. So I wanted to find news on the upcoming Scream movie, hear what fans have to say. Now,
Hmm.
there is a group. Now, in the Halloween fan area, there's these three big guys: Dave McCrane, the We Watched a Movie, and Lee from Dumb Drums. But in the Scream community, we have the Lethal Collective. And they're basic. I'm a big wrestling fan. They're like the four horsemen of the
That's cool.
Scream fandom.
That's
And
cool.
we have someone who, gosh, I would consider him in wrestling fans. He's kind of the Arn Anderson of the
Oh.
Lethal Collective, like,
Oh.
yeah, the workhorse guy who's always
Right.
putting out great stuff. So I am very happy to welcome to the show Craven Something Scary, or Steven. How's it going, man?
Man, it's going really good. How are you guys today? Thanks for the opportunity.
Doing
Doing
good.
great.
Doing good. When Eric first mentioned having you on the show, I was stoked because I mean, I'm not okay, so I like horror, but as people know, I watch horror with like both hands over my eyes, right? And kind of squinting and kind of curled up in a ball. But knowing Eric and how he writes and how he directs and his passion especially for Scream and Wes Craven, I was super excited because you know, I think for the average person, it's kind of like what Eric was saying. Not a whole lot of people outside of maybe the horror genre like realize Wes Craven did more than just Nightmare on Elm Street. And so I'm kind of excited to listen to you guys talk about your passions for Wes Craven. So that's kind of cool. That's cool.
Rock
Now,
on. Yeah.
Steve, how long? Because Eric may know this, but I'll be the everyman right now. What got you started into doing? Well, no, let's go back even before then. What is it about Wes Craven that you dig so much?
Man, so much about him that really I enjoy with his work. And I think one part of it is that he's a great storyteller. I often tell people, brilliant writer. I think he knows how to tell a story. He knows how to craft it. But you know what's interesting is how sometimes you have great writers and then but they're not necessarily great filmmakers. They're just great writers, you know? And there's nothing wrong with that. That's their gift.
Right. Yeah.
Then you have others that are brilliant filmmakers. They know how to take words from a page and bring it to life on the screen. But
Mhm.
they don't write. They don't have no, their creativeness is in making this come to life.
Yeah.
Wes Craven is one of those that were master level of each. He's a
Mm,
master writer and a master filmmaker. And so in my mind, he is a true legend. He's my very my most favorite filmmaker, storyteller of all time, for sure. And
wow.
there's others that are in his league, but not many. Like, you know, you could say John Carpenter. I would argue James Wan also
Without a doubt.
is at that level, but it's a small list. It's like these guys up here, you know, and then everyone's way down, you know, coming up, trying to get there, you know.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
very few ever achieve what I think Wes Craven achieved. When you can affect horror for 3 decades, I mean, man, to have one hit movie is incredible. Just
Yeah.
one. But he revolutionized horror in the 70s because before there was Texas Chainsaw Massacre, before there was Halloween, before there was Jason and or Friday the 13th, I should say, there was Last House on the Left, 1972.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm,
And I mean, ushering in just a raw style of filmmaking that it's very disturbing, even to this day. That film is difficult to watch, in my opinion.
wow.
Um, for all the right reasons because it was done masterfully, you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then the 80s come along, he revolutionizes the 80s, right? We got Nightmare on Elm Street, you guys
Yeah.
talked about it. Turns the horror upside down. Then in the 90s, he brings Scream, turns horror upside down in 96. And then in the 2000s, he continues to just do incredible work. You know, he does more Scream films. He does Red Eye, which is a great movie in my
My
opinion.
Soul to Take, which I love.
My
My
Soul to
Soul to
Take.
Take.
I think so. Yeah, that's another underrated one for him, and it's the very last movie that he wrote
Yeah.
and directed. That was the last
Mm.
one.
And did
And
you read his biography? Because he talked about how he tried to get that movie made for like 10 years or more.
oh man, you know, the sad thing about it is he has been plagued, or he was plagued with studio interference and his work from the 80s. Every decade,
Mhm.
every studio seemed to have their hands in his story or his script or tagging on things he didn't want to have on. And I always felt bad because I'm like, if he had been with a studio that would have said, man, we're going to pour into you without meddling. We're just going to sit back, go do your thing. Could you imagine how some of these great films would have been even greater if that's possible, even possible, you know?
Mm.
And you saw it with movies like Deadly Friend, you know, with
Mhm.
Universal. He was so excited to go to Universal, big studio. This
Mhm.
was huge. And he wanted to make this movie. And they got in there and just changed a lot of the story up. Like, no. And they had multiple studio executives on the set. Think about this. You're filming and they're watching you, like literally like the police watching you every set. I'm like, this is Wes Craven, man. And then I won't even get started on the Weinsteins. That's don't
Oh,
even, oh
gee.
my
Yeah.
He
gosh.
who must not be named.
Exactly, man. It's travesty.
I was thinking, could you imagine if he would have been healthy enough at the time, Kevin Williamson working with Jason Blum on Scream 4? It would have
Oh
blown the roof off the place. Those three
goodness.
men working together.
Yes, yes, exactly. I mean, I often say, guys, I put a lot of the blame for Scream 4's lack of box office success on the Weinstein's doorstep because of their marketing. They had almost no marketing for that movie
Yeah.
whatsoever.
Do you think that since it was Scream, like the Scream franchise, they thought, you know, why try to market it to the people outside of the genre when we know how much we're gonna make with the
Mhm.
people inside the genre? I think that's such a
Yep,
small way of thinking.
it
Man,
is.
small. Very
It is.
small.
Resting on your laurels, you know,
Right.
all we need is the name. That's going to bring
Mhm.
everybody in. But here's the problem. I was a Scream junkie, still am. I didn't even know the movie was out. It was in theaters when I found out
Jeez.
about it. I didn't even know. And I've talked to multiple people. I said, "Hey, how was the marketing in your area of the country?" And they're like, "It was non-existent." They're like,
Wow.
I had no clue." And so it's really sad because they shot themselves in the foot and they cost us as fans from having 2 more Wes Craven Scream films. We should
Mm,
Yeah.
have 6 Craven Screams right now to talk about,
mm.
Yeah.
not 4.
And it's like, I know, when it comes, like you said, resting on your laurels, but one thing people have to understand is every sequel in a franchise is someone's first movie. Is
Fact. That's so
someone's,
true.
like, again, like the Friday the 13th movies. Part 6 is my favorite. And there are a lot of people who, well, we know a whole group of people that was their first introduction to Friday the 13th. And with the newest one, with Scream 5, there were a lot, and I'm so excited about that. There were teenagers going to see that as their first Scream.
Yep.
Sam is their final girl. And when we talk about Sydney, they're like, yeah, she's great, but Sam, and I want that, and we'll get into that. I want Sam to be other people's favorite final girl. I think they'll be able to do that if they do it right. But when it, again, like, we're fanboys, they got our money no matter but what. But remember, it's someone's first.
Yeah.
Jason X. I love Jason X.
Love it.
That was someone's first introduction to Jason.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I I feel bad for those people because they're not in on the joke.
Right.
But what got you started wanting to do YouTube? Because there's the Super Movie Bros YouTube channel, which, and all your links will be in the description if you're listening in on Anchor and listening in on YouTube. Everything's going to be in the bottom. But who was it that made you think, yeah, I want to try this?
So, the first channel you mentioned there was that I have 2 channels right now. And the first one was called The Movie Bros React.
That's it.
And so my good friend, who also has a channel now, I'll plug him while I'm here. I want to share his channel.
Links will be in the description. Give it to
Oh,
me and I'll put them in.
okay, great, perfect. Okay, so my good friend, the Carbonite Jedi, and I, who've been best friends for life pretty much since I was a teenager, and so we always wanted to do a YouTube channel. We always talked about it. We're like, we should do this, and he actually had one for years, way back. He did. I never did really do anything with YouTube at all, except watch it. I didn't do anything, create anything. And so we talked about, man, we should start this movie bros reaction channel where we watch trailers and stuff. I'm like, let's go for it. So we started this up back in May, a year ago, May of last year, 2021. And we had some success, but it was rough getting started, man. We're the channels right now is still like at 330 subs. So I mean, it's pretty small, really. But we what was great about that, your question was what made us want to get started. It was because we wanted to try our hand at it. This is going to tell you something way back in the 90s before Scream came out. We made home movies like when we had VHS camcorders.
I was there.
And you remember those days? Come
Yeah,
on, man. This is
I was
like old
there.
school, right?
Yeah.
We'd
Tape to
video
tape
this thing.
editing.
And we'd film people. We did a little movie. The killer's name was Horace, inspired by Shocker. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And he was a killer. And anyway, I won't go into the whole thing, but we filmed it. edited it on multiple VCRs back and forth.
Mhm.
It take weeks. It take days to do an edited video. I mean, days, not hours.
Yeah.
And so the love was already there to create content.
Yeah.
And so we decided that last May was the time we're saying, well, let's quit talking about it. Let's just do it. We live in different states, but it doesn't matter with technology like this. We're able to do these things. So we started the channel, and to mild success, we had fun doing it. That was all that mattered, is that we had fun. So as we got to like the summertime around August, we did what he's not a horror fan, by the way.
I know how you feel now. We're getting to know, we're deeper levels here.
I have no idea what you're talking about, Eric.
Oh no. So you know my pain, Eric. You understand.
Yes. Oh God.
The struggle's real with this stuff, man. And
why do they use a hammer to kill people? I don't understand.
oh no. It's artwork for a killer. It's art. Come on, right, man. It's like Picasso. There's their art. There's the instrument. So we did this thing called Scream Fest on the Movie Bros React. It's still up there. All the videos are there, because I always wanted to do something that was established community. I didn't want to just have videos. Like, I mean, that's great, but I want to do that, but I want it to be more. I want to connect with people. I want to bring people together in a place where we can support and encourage each other. We can lift each other up. We can be there for one another through life and through movies. And that was always been my ultimate goal. And knowing that Michael was not a horror fan, I made him go through Scream Fest. I made him watch all the movies again with me, take notes, give comments. Yeah. Anyway, I said, it's time to start my own horror channel. And he was encouraging me to do that. So on September the 4th of last year, I dropped my very first video. I was in the middle of suffering through the whatever the second variant was.
The T virus.
Yes, of exactly what's going around.
Yeah.
And I was in the middle of this. I was actually starting to recover. I was probably about 2 weeks into a 4-week period with that.
Wow.
It was rough. The whole household got it.
Oh,
so,
geez.
but what made me start the channel and do my first video was when Rose McGowan came out and said she was offered a voiceover part for Scream 5 and refused to do it. And I'm like, okay, I have to make my first video about this. And I did it. I just pushed. It took all the energy, guys, I had to muster through this 9-minute video, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And when I was done, I felt like I climbed Mount Everest. And I will tell you something. The video is still on my channel. I'm never taking it down. It's what started it all. I sound like death. I'm telling you what, you guys, if you want to laugh,
I've heard it.
Okay. It's rough, man. So, but here's what I found interesting. I posted that video. I had like maybe 5 subs, whatever. And the thing got like 300 views. Now you got to understand something. On the Movie Bros React, I'm used to getting 30 views on a video. Okay.
Right.
That's like normal. And I said, this is way up there. What's going on? I mean, what's happening? And so as I got better and over the stuff, and my voice got back to where it sounded, where it wouldn't sound like, saw blades in your ears. Listen to me. I said, I got to keep going. Let's go, And then some people started subscribing and started rising up and things. And the biggest reason I did the channel was I wanted to share my passion for my favorite director and my favorite movie franchise, Scream. That's what started it. It's branched now into more than that. It's also Halloween. I do a lot of. I love Halloween. It's my second favorite. And my tagline is all horror all the time. And that's really what the channel's about. And it's just grown from there.
Nice.
One other, we'll get into the thing that you conduct in a little bit, but Larry, you had another question?
So from that very first one, it's always weird because I think, whether you're doing audio, especially video, it takes a lot out of you because you don't want to be like a dead fish because, people don't like dead fishes. Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Unless you're oh gosh, who was it? Who I forget now. Hey everybody, welcome to it. Just you can't be a dead fish, and to be in a place where you're not at your best, not at 100%, even 50% of what you think your best is, to be able to get that many views right off. Because I do have to tell you, a lot of people, you guys, you in particular, because I'm looking at your website, the YouTube channel now, it's Craven Something Scary. But you have 4.68, 400 what, 68,000 subscribers right now.
Yeah. So almost 4,700. Yeah,
Yes.
almost.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
creeping to 5K, man.
Congratulations, man.
That's good.
Congratulations.
That's
Thank you,
really
guys.
good.
Thank you.
How long has that taken you to get there? Because now we're talking technical, because you obviously make it look easy, because everybody, including my little niece, she loves watching YouTube, right? The shows. And so
Yeah.
I do like little videos and stuff with her. But I think, more than that, I think people are under the impression that if you make it, people will come. And
Mhm.
that may be true, but how true was it for you?
Well, I have to say, what makes this journey even more special, maybe for me, is having done the Movie Bros React first,
Mm.
because we're at a 1 year anniversary. We're at 331 subs.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it really gives me perspective now when I'm at, in 8 months, I'm at almost 5,000, which is
Yeah.
just ridiculous. My goal was to have 1,000 subs in 1 year, which would be this coming
Wow.
September, a few months from
Yeah.
now. That was my goal. And to have reached 1,000 subs, in November, I started in September. 2 months later, I had 1,000.
Wow.
And so I'm like, this doesn't happen. Like, this is not normal. And I know
Yeah.
it's not. I know it's not. One of my good friends, Killjoy Jake, who's in the collective with us, we were talking one time, and because I go, he's got 10,000 subs now. He's a
Yeah.
great channel.
He's doing it full time now, right?
He is. He just
Yeah.
moved to full-time YouTubing, which is I'm so proud and happy for him.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so good. But I asked him
Wow.
about it. He told me, he said, man, look, it took me 1 year to get my first 1,000. And so it was just, and again, having started that, if you'd asked me, is it easy? First of all, it's never easy. No matter what your growth rate is, it's a lot
Yeah.
of work.
Yeah.
I mean, my body is completely shot with a sleep timer. It doesn't know when I should sleep now, when I should be awake, because I can't tell you how many times I'm up 4 or 5 in the morning to get stuff done.
Sweet
just-
Doing
Lord.
7-hour live streams.
7-hour live streams all the time, 6, 7 hours. I mean, it is, there's a cost to pay to put in the work you need to do.
Yeah.
But I'm doing it because, number one, I love it. And what's happened through this whole thing is getting a community that I always wanted to have, where people can come and know it's safe to voice an opinion.
Yeah.
You're not going to get ridiculed. You're not going to be, it's not going to be, I have zero toxicity allowances at all. All my moderators know in live chats, everyone knows it's one shot and you're out. You're
Mhm.
blocked. I don't put up with any of that mess.
Yeah.
And what I've seen happen now is that this community's come together and has grown. And now my channel members, I call them Cravenites, my Cravenites,
Mhm.
who are growing, and people are now getting the courage to start their own channels because of it.
That's
And
cool.
I'm so humbled, man, because I always encourage everyone, I try to every live stream, that if there's something holding you back, don't let it. Like, don't, if your desire is to start a channel, you should do it. The voice of doubt, the voice of the fear of rejection, all the excuses in the world that hold you back, they are meaningless. What matters is that you take the most of your time and you just do it. We're not promised tomorrow. Let's go. The
Yeah.
time to live is now. It's not
Yeah.
later on. So
Yeah.
you never know the impact that you will have on other people in your sphere of influence, whether it's 2 people or 20,000 people. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
And that goes along, it just popped into my head again because it was I forget if you said it or Eric, but oh no, it was you, Stephen, about how Wes Craven, it's unfortunate because as filmmakers that are at a certain level, you have to I feel that before you had to have a studio to back you or nothing would happen. And I think that's very unfortunate because again, you look at a body of work as a director. And if you're lucky like Steven Spielberg, you can do whatever you want with
Yeah.
any studio and they're going to be kind of like, "Okay, we're just going to like let you do it because we know how you operate," and they may have like a little grip on it, but like with Wes Craven, and I think really any other director. I mean, you look at Francis Ford Coppola, you look at all these directors who were almost beholden to the studio system, and you look at how many actual movies that they put out and all the things that they could have done, even more
mm,
bodies of work. But that's much like an actor, much like a musician. When you have to when you have to wait and ask for somebody, "Hey, I think I'm going to go record this." They're like, "Wait, wait, wait, wait. We got to look at it first. We got to put all our handprints." And which actually speaks to what you were just saying is I don't think today's creative person has to wait anymore.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing. That's a giant thing. Because when you don't have to do that, then really the only person that's holding you back is really you,
that's
right?
right.
And what you
Exactly.
what you think how you think of other people perceive you. And I really, man, I'm quite tickled, like and excited and very happy to hear because I think once you're onto something, and much like people are looking for stuff to believe in right now and to belong because people don't know where to go. People don't know who to be truthful to, and I find it very very refreshing and very sweet that you've put this great little community um and it involves obviously because there's horror is a big community anyway. It's much
Hmm.
like family, sometimes a dysfunctional family, as most creative, all that stuff, but it's a family nonetheless in that you've really taken your passion and I can hear it. I can
Yeah.
hear it and I can see it as I scroll through your YouTube. um what are some of the most best comments that you've gotten from people?
Good question.
Oh wow. The ones that mean that mean the most to me, a lot of people are very complimentary on content, and things like that. But what matters, I think, the most to me are the comments where they're much more personal than that. There are
Yeah.
people that I've had, some folks, since you've asked the question, I'm going to answer. Normally, I would not be saying these kind of things, but since
Yeah.
you asked, uh, I've had many people that have messaged me directly saying, "Man, I was in a very, very bad
Wow.
place when I found your channel,
Yeah.
and I found your," and said that your content has given me something to help pull me out of a very
Yeah.
Wow.
bad place.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've had people share that this is basically their family now. That what's
Wow.
been created here, that they feel that they are a part. They are in the family. They're not just watching a channel and videos. That they're actually integrated into this. They're a part of it.
Yeah.
And the ones that mean the most are the people though that share they've been struggling. They're in a difficult place, and it just always just takes me back, man. Just like, oh man, it really. I'm just thankful that in some way my content, something I said, whatever it is, can give someone hope. Because I say this all the time. You could, millions of people make videos and post content.
Right.
What
Yeah.
I want my channel to be about is not just the content, because I do believe the content is what brings people there. It's the
Yeah.
vehicle by which people get in to take the ride.
Yeah.
But what matters to me though is when you're there, what keeps you there is knowing that you yourself are valuable, that you have
Yes.
value, that no matter your circumstances, you are more important. You'll outlast them. Don't stop fighting. Just keep
Mm,
stepping forward. One foot in front of the other. The distance you travel doesn't matter. What matters is that you move, that you're
Cool.
still
yeah.
moving. And
Yep.
no matter what's going on, you will outlast that, because videos, listen, my channel, one day I'm not going to be here, man. And these videos, nobody's going to watch these videos anymore. They're going to be old. They're going to be, no one cares. But you know what matters and what outlasts content are people
Mm,
and
Yeah.
relationships. And the
yeah.
legacy that I want to leave with this channel is that it impacted people in a way that generations can follow from that
Oh,
impact. If
oh,
one person, his path has changed from spiraling down to now rising up and living and moving forward, that will transcend to their children, their other family
Right.
members.
Right.
And that to me, guys, is the most important legacy, because relationships matter the most, more than
Yeah.
anything.
yeah.
Wow. This is actually, I mean,
I wasn't able to make it to church today because of babysitting, but I feel like I just got a mini sermon just now.
it's
Awesome.
great.
Yeah.
I mean,
Awesome. Awesome.
when what you do kind of transcends, where you kind of where you are and what you're doing, when you do that and it transcends into like another level, that in an odd way, now you're talking about what really Wes Craven did for horror films, right? And the horror genre, the filmmaking, horror, all that stuff. But in a way, that speaks to who he was as a person and what he did and his passion. And now we actually are talking to you, Stephen, about doing the same thing using your passion and your let's face it, you have an influence. Well, number one, you're the most likable guy, I swear to God. You
Really.
know?
Oh.
Oh, well.
And and
Thank
and
you.
and I can
It's like we
understand.
just met, but it feels like, the way the
Yeah.
conversation's going, like we've known each other a while.
Yeah.
It's true. No, I feel the same way about you guys.
I
Awesome.
mean, it's wild and crazy, but that's when it becomes more than just something to do, right? And
Yes.
more, it becomes more than just content at that point, I think.
Yes. I agree.
At at any point when you started this, because I mean, I think when you start something, and did you start your channel almost a year ago? Did you start your channel knowing or even like thinking it would become what it is today?
Yeah, when I started the channel, I hoped it would at some point. I mean, I remember I was talking to, again, my buddy Michael, who I have the channel with. I said, man, I really want this to be more than just a channel with horror content. My intention from day one was for this to be a way that I could help other people. If I can give people hope, I've said that earlier, and I'll try not to be too redundant, and
Oh, yeah, no
repetitive,
Yeah,
worries.
but
yeah,
if I can use this to bring people together, horror is the thing that binds us and
yeah,
brings us here.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I because it's one of my passions, as you guys know, and I'm
Yeah.
going to give you my very best on this content that I could possibly do, to my abilities.
yeah,
However, I want, while you're here, I don't want you to leave without knowing that whatever you're facing in life, you're not alone in it. You don't
yeah,
have to be alone in it. You may feel isolated, but you're not. You don't have to be, because this channel, I want you here, and I want to, if there's anything I can do to help you fight another day, because
Mm,
listen, life is tough, man, and
yeah.
we all have trials. We all wear masks all the time, and no
Mm-hmm.
one knows what's going on inside of us.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you have a group where I've got a live chat where I've got 50 people, I guarantee you a percentage of those are struggling in life right now. There are issues that they are fighting that may never tell anyone else about. It may be a lot of really, really bad thoughts and things.
Yeah.
And so if I can make sure in that live stream that before we end, I say something, I reach out and hopefully will be able to say something that will help at least one of them in some way, in an existential, in a very intangible way, immaterial way that will help them, then I feel like, then my purpose was met. And that's what I want this channel to always be about. I always want this to be about.
Yeah.
And I mentioned earlier, I mean, I've got about 6 or 7 people now that all have channels. They're like little branches from Craven Something
Yeah.
Scary.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I
Like
just love that.
spin-off shows.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Cool.
Though that's one way. And then you have the other folks that have expressed how it's much deeper than even that. That's what it's about. And I do believe that God has given me this vehicle.
Oh, totally, man.
Yeah.
This is a vehicle. And some people will say, like, I was talking to Lynn McCree, who plays Maureen Prescott in the Scream films. And we were talking the other day, and she's like, and it's so funny, you mentioned this earlier, Eric, that you almost went to Bible college, right?
Yeah.
You almost went. Well, the funny thing is, I did go to Bible college,
Oh,
and I went to seminary. So I've got 2 Bible degrees.
okay.
And the funny thing is
I was
that
gonna say I had that feeling about you, like,
Wow.
oh, this guy has taught Sunday school and spoken
Oh.
at youth events. The way he's talking about purpose and stuff like that.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll blow your mind. I've preached many, many sermons. I mean,
I am not shocked by
I
that
can
at
feel
all.
that. I can feel that.
Me and Larry met at church in LA over
Nice.
20 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so cool that you guys are still connected. That is a real special
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
That is. That's
Yes,
really
it
cool.
is. Yes, it is.
But
Yes,
go
it
on with
is.
what you were saying. I want to hear where this goes, like the
Oh,
Bible
yeah.
college stuff.
Sure. Oh, yeah. So no, I was talking to Lynn McCree and shared with her, and she was like, "Wait a minute." She says, "You're a seminary graduate running a horror channel?" And she started
Right?
laughing, and I said, "Yes." I said, because God's not in a box. He works in mysterious ways.
Exactly,
Right.
you know.
And-
That's right.
You know what? I guarantee you, I could probably do more good with a horror channel to reach people
Yes.
than I could on a lot of other platforms.
Yeah.
Oh,
honestly.
like when I ran my Bible study at the community college I went to, 2 of my most faithful people were my goth friends who liked horror movies and heavy metal music.
Mhm.
It's because the fact that we like stuff like, because let's be honest, a lot of Christians feel horror is this horrible, evil,
Yeah.
bad thing.
Right.
But
right.
when a non-believer will meet someone who's passionate about horror and passionate about the Lord, it's like, wait a minute, I
Yeah.
can like both. That's not
Exactly.
immediately wrong. Like when you look at The Exorcist, which movie I've never finished, by the way, it isn't about Reagan. It's really about Father, what's his name, finding his faith again. And that could only be done in the realm of horror.
Mhm.
No other
True.
way you could have done that.
Very true. Very
Again,
true.
I've still never finished that movie. I won't even watch the cursed films episode of it on Shudder. I'm too scared to watch it.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of when it gets into the demonic religious horror. I don't really care about any of that
Same
stuff.
with me.
I don't watch any of those movies.
That I think, it is funny. I could watch heads getting chopped off by
Mhm.
Jason and arms flying everywhere. But when it comes to that, I'm like, no, that's a bit too real.
And
Thanks.
Yeah.
I'll pass on that.
I want to know your thoughts on this, Stephen, because when we were doing Hillsborough Road's promotion, our big thing was me talking about my dislike of A24. And we piggybacked off of something,
Ooh.
we started a campaign called Make Horror Fun Again, which is a spin on, make
Yeah.
something again.
Right.
Mhm.
I do not like the Hereditaries, Midsummer. I mean, well, while we're on this topic, oh, you mean if you've seen the movie, Christian goes into this other community and doesn't respect their religion? What are you trying to tell us, Ari Aster, with that whole thing? I don't like it. I'm not saying they're bad movies. They're well crafted, very intelligent, but like Larry said, I'll take, I'll look up at my VHS collection here. I'll take killing the TV movie Killing Mr. Griffin based on the Lois Duncan novel over any A24 movie. What are your thoughts on elevated horror?
Yeah. I'll tell you what, man. Most of the elevated horror I've seen, I fall asleep. It's this. It's they build it as such a slow
Mhm.
burn, but the problem is you can be too slow, and the dialogue is just too much,
Exactly.
and it's like,
Yes.
what are we doing here? Let's
Yeah.
go. So
Yeah.
I will say this though, I haven't watched all of them. To be fair, I haven't watched Midsummer, whatever it is, Midsummer. I haven't seen it. I've
Ugh.
heard about it. I have not seen The Witch. I haven't seen that either. I've seen Hereditary. Did not like it. I did not
Same.
like it at all. There was some very wild stuff in there, but I did not really like the movie. I'll never watch it again. I'll put it that way. It
I
was a one
won't buy
time.
it. It's $5 on Amazon for the Blu-ray, and I won't spend the $5 for it.
Me either. I'm not watching it again. I did see the Babadook just because Tara was talking about it in Scream 5. I had to watch the Babadook. And now that movie was creepy as all get out, man. That movie, I actually kind of liked the Babadook. I will have to admit, it was interesting. I thought that I thought some things were going to happen that didn't happen, which was actually okay because I thought she was going to end up, you know, being the victim to herself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And she wasn't. When I was glad for that. So it had a little bit. Sorry, spoilers, guys. I probably should have said that. Sorry.
Son of a.
No one who likes our podcast or my channel is gonna like the Babadook. I have a feeling about that.
Yeah,
Wait, did you say Marmaduke?
Babadook, the Babadook. Hey, you know what?
Hey,
The
we
Marmaduke-
actually
the Marmaduke movie with Owen Wilson was really, really good.
we actually did dude. So obviously A24. My only experience with A24 is Midsommar. It blew my mind enough to where I couldn't really talk about it on our podcast when we talked about it, when we did a commentary on it, and I was like, I don't even know what I just watched. I know, filmmaking is funny because I think when you think of horror films, you don't really think of like great auteur like horror filmmakers, but I think that's what it is, right? It's more like an art house horror
Yes,
film, right?
pretty
Here's
much.
the thing with that, we'll use the Babadook as an example of elevated horror. In this genre, that can be a great movie, and so can Sleepaway Camp 2. Both of those can be considered great, completely different reasons. Now, you can't go into drama and compare The Room to Godfather. You can't. It's not, you
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah. Well, I will say this regarding A24. The movie that I've seen for them that I really liked because it wasn't this elevated, trying to be really heady, really kind of, whatever space they're going for generally. It was X, the Jenna Ortega and Brittany
Yeah.
Snow. That was a throwback slasher movie. And that's my jam, man. I am all about slashers. That's my favorite genre,
Same with
subgenre.
me.
Oh man, just give me a guy in a costume. And in this case, wasn't even a costume. I don't care. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
And they did well on that. And I think Ty West was great in his direction of X. Really good.
The thing I'm a huge Ty West fan. I got to meet him at Screamfest in LA when the Innkeepers premiered. He's always been nice to me on Twitter. So him getting a nationwide release movie, I was excited. And I walked out of X going, well, it was nice for him to get a nationwide release.
Right?
I can't say I loved X. I liked it a lot, but I
Yeah.
won't buy it.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that there's this really great book called Rise of the Filmtrepreneur. And in the book, the writer talks about having a niche when it comes to anything you do. And I think what you've been able to capitalize on is your niche within the horror genre. And, right when the new Scream was coming out, and there was so much good Scream, the marketing for that movie was
Oh,
other to Brash Sarah is the most innovative thing
yeah.
ever. And I know they have to bring her back for 7. There's no way they can. It was too important.
Yeah. The marketing, I've often said this, if the Weinsteins had marketed 4 like Scream 5 was marketed with, now granted, social media it wasn't a big thing then.
Yeah.
Facebook was out, whatever. I think Twitter might have just come out, but
And MySpace was like the
oh
big
gosh,
thing.
MySpace was the big
Remember
thing.
the
That's right,
MySpace generation?
dude.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, yes. But if they would use those tools, whatever the tools they had at that time, with the amount of fervor and passion and marketing as they did for 5, I can almost guarantee you that movie would have been well over 100
Oh,
million
without a
domestic,
doubt. Yeah.
and we would have got the trilogy. I'm telling you. But anyway, not to go back to beat a dead horse. It just bugs me because I just know that that movie would have done better. So, but anyway, the marketing for this movie was fantastic. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, anywhere you looked, there was Scream. There were billboards,
Mm-hmm.
all over, out in the streets, when you're driving on freeways, it was everywhere, Scream.
Yeah.
And they got 150 million. They did it paid off. Got them a sequel. I mean, here we
Yeah.
are.
Now,
Yeah.
I have one more Scream 4 comment, then we'll get to the beginning of your passion for this franchise. Larry, you'll catch up in this. What was with that color correction on Scream 4? Why did it look creamy? It looked like they rubbed lotion all over it. It didn't fit everybody who hates Scream 3 and says 4's better. Well, at least 3 looked normal.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, I often say it was filmed in Vaseline vision.
That's what
Yeah.
I wanted to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
You've got to watch
It's a
it,
glow.
Larry.
Yeah.
There's this weird look to it. Like the color correction makes no
Yeah.
Really?
sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's the thing. I don't know the answer to why. I'll just say this. I never heard an interview, a commentary from Wes on it ever, but I know it was intentional. That was on purpose for a reason. And it bugs me. What I wish we could do is talk to Patrick Lussier,
Yes.
the director. That's who I wish we could talk to find out what was the thinking behind the color correction, the look. Because basically, and when you really notice it is when they're out in the sunlight.
Yes.
That's when you really see it. When it's bright shots, it looks like there's a glow around everyone's head, like Vaseline. Like a glow. I can't
Almost like
describe it.
a polarized type thing.
Not
It's
even
just-
that, Larry. Just look up the trailer when we're done and compare it to 3 or any other of the movies, and it makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it was a particular filter that they used or what it was, but Wes went for this look. It was I for some reason I often wonder if, and I don't know. This is okay. You want a hot take, guys? Here's a hot take for you.
Yeah.
I wonder because a lot of times in dream sequences in movies and TV shows,
okay,
they have this
like that.
They have that look where they're slightly off, and I always wondered what if we would have found out in the next movie that some of that, if not all of that, was a dream sequence.
Interesting.
Ooh.
Interesting.
And that would have explained the weird, strange look.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Brilliant.
I don't know.
That's good.
Are we
That's
gonna
good.
add that dream theory to the Halloween Ends dream theory?
No, please.
Okay.
No.
Now, I talk a lot about Scream. You talk a lot. I'm going to be working on a video soon about the importance of it, because again, we say this all the time. Horror was dead in the mid to late 90s completely. Now, people often wonder why, because that used to be your entry point to get into filmmaking.
Hmm.
But then these three movies happened called Clerks, El Mariachi, and Pulp
Right.
Fiction. Well, really,
Yeah.
Reservoir Dogs, and that made the potty mouth comedy or the crime movie big. So people forgot about horror.
Yeah.
Then, this hip, cool, right when MTV was great, CW hadn't started yet, but teen culture was on the rise. We get Scream. And I know me and you were there for the beginning, Stephen. Now, what do you? I know that your favorite character, and I'll get into why Scream meant so much to me. And it's as a little kid watching, the big slasher movies, I only identified with Tommy Jarvis and Four, and maybe some of the kids in Monster Squad. But then I see Randy, Jamie Kennedy's character. And by the way, sub to his YouTube channel because he puts out some really interesting stuff, like you would thought-provoking political opinions and social stuff from Jamie Kennedy. I'm not joking. But his character, Randy, was the first time I saw myself in a movie. Like, wait, this guy knows all the stuff I like. He kind of dresses like I do, because I was always been a pop punk skater boy kind of thing. So for you as a lifelong horror fan and a Wes Craven fan, that first viewing, I know you talked about it a little bit, going to see it in theater. What did it mean for you? And we'll get into the train that you're the conductor of as we do this, because I have an interesting thing I want to pitch to you about how to end five. And I want to see what you think about it when you're ready for it. So give
Wonderful.
us what happens, what it did to you when you saw it for the first time.
Oh man, it blew my mind. It rocked my world. It turned everything upside down. Every other possible explanatory scenario you can think of, I felt it because I went into that movie, and what got me there was I said, "Oh, this is a Wes Craven movie," and I saw a trailer on TV, and I said, "Oh, we got a mass killer," and of course the way it's done, it's clearly a whodunit. There's
Yeah.
who's behind them, because you got one thing you got to understand for me also. My love for slasher whodunits started when I was like 6 years old with my boy Scooby Doo. All right, that
Oh,
is it. All started with Scooby. Everything starts there. That is
yes.
where. Well, I was just you as well, Eric. Is
Oh,
that
I
right?
put a thing on my YouTube that slasher movies are just a Scooby Doo episode with a body count.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. I said, look, this is I Scream 3. I always say it's like Scooby Doo on steroids.
Yeah,
Scream 3,
yeah.
especially with all the hidden passageways
Did you like
and
some Scooby Natural?
oh yes, I bought that episode. I actually own that one episode of it.
Awesome.
It's so great. So Scooby's my jam. I buy every movie that comes out since the last 20 years. I still buy them. The cartoon, the direct to,
Oh, they're
animated
all
shows.
good. They're all
They're
good.
they're all really good little mysteries. And of
Yeah.
course, Matthew Lillard, for gosh sakes, has been the voice of Shaggy for 20 years. So plus,
Mm.
We
so I
got to
love that.
talk about the Scooby Doo movie. The greatest.
Yeah.
People talk about Captain Picard playing Professor X as the great. I forgot his real name, but no, the first Scooby Doo is the greatest casting in the history
Oh,
of movies. It looks like
yeah.
they pulled the characters out of the cartoon and they're flesh and blood now.
Yeah. It's a wonderful movie. It's a lot of fun. And I'm not going to spoil it, spoil it, even though it's 22 years old. But
Oh, don't say that. Oh God.
I know, trust
Mm.
me, I know. I say that. I feel the same. I remember seeing it in theaters also, but
Oh,
the reveal in that movie, the final
oh my
reveal,
goodness.
priceless. And
Perfect.
if you're a legacy Scooby fan, I'm talking about the original
Yes.
episodes, and you guys know why I'm saying that, as you and we all share a very similar mindset. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. And
It
so,
was a gift, like a hug, and yeah, we're sorry.
oh,
We're sorry.
yes, sorry for brutalizing you for a certain period of time in the 80s. But let me just tell you, back to Scream. It all started with Scooby Doo, and but what for Scream though specifically, man, I went into the theater. This is how profound that movie was for me. I can still, and this is not, I can't say this for all the movies I've seen by any means. I still remember the theater location, the time this movie started. I can tell you how I felt when I walked out and the phone calls I made driving home. I can tell you all of those things because that's how much this movie meant to me when I saw it, affected me. And when I saw the trailer on TV that it was a murder mystery and it's Wes Craven, I said, "Are you kidding me?" Yes, please. So I went after work one night, and it was in January of '97. I didn't go the first week it came out.
Nobody did.
Yeah, no, nobody even I didn't even know. Yeah, no, it's true. I never have met one person that went opening night. I haven't
Yeah.
met anyone that said that. Uh, but anyway, it's the first week of January, I guess it was, and I went and saw it. And I remember that I'm like, this is too good. It can't, there's got to be a letdown at some point in this movie because it's going too well. And it never came. It just
Yeah.
got better. And when we got to act one, when we got to scene 118, which is the 3-week finale, the shot
Yeah.
on set, man. And when they were, and look, are we talking spoilers or no?
Oh, everybody who knows watches your
Yeah.
stuff and mine
Yeah.
has seen like
Yeah.
they have, like we said, every version of it on VHS, the
Okay.
copies of the script. So go for it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So when the reveal came, and I love how Kevin and Wes crafted the movie, because the whole movie, you're just sure it's Billy, right? You're like, oh, it's
Yeah.
got to be Billy. Of course it's Billy. And then after Billy and Sydney have their moment, and then all of a sudden he's like, what do I have to do to prove to you I'm
Mhm.
not a killer? And then she's just like, oh my gosh. And then boom, we see he gets stabbed.
Yeah.
And my mind, first of all, mine just blows up because I'm like, that
Yeah.
throws everything out of the
Mhm.
water that I was planning on. So now I'm like, well, who is it? Is it her dad? It's got to be her dad now.
Yeah.
That's who I immediately shifted to. And so as the movie goes on, and then finally, of course, we see him that, he's actually alive. And then, but that's not all, folks. There's more. When
Yeah.
she turns around, when Sydney turns around to go into the kitchen, and there's Stu, and he like grabs the voice changer.
Yeah.
Surprise, Sydney. I'm like, what is happening? At that point, I was like, every little what's that chemical called that releases when you're
Endorphins.
and the endorphins, when the
Yeah.
endorphins were flowing like everywhere at this point for me, because I had never seen anything like it. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
2 killers. Come on, man. No, there's never 2 killers in these
Yeah.
movies.
Yeah.
And I just remember walking out of the theater. I still remember it right now. I'm playing it in my head, thinking I have to call every person I know and say, you must watch this movie. I don't care what it takes. You got to go. And then when it came out at Blockbuster, yes, Blockbuster Video.
Yeah.
Every Tuesday, release day.
Yeah. Yep.
And the minute that sucker came out, I remember having a watch party with like 7 people who'd never seen it. And I was just watching everybody's faces. It was brilliant. Love it.
Do you wish you can see it for the first time again?
Oh, yes.
There's so many movies. I'm like, man, I wish I could see Empire again for the first time.
Wow.
Or, Scream again, or all these other great movies. And, again, with YouTube, there are people watching it first time watching Scream. And it's like, oh, you lucky dogs, you get to see it first time. Like, you don't know.
You don't know. And some people are watching the first 4 films for the first time right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man.
It really warms my heart about stuff like that. Again, I'm going to harp on this. I'm so glad that what do you call the new 4?
The core 4.
The core 4. I hope that becomes their thing. Like with us, the OG 3. It would
Yep.
mean so much to me if, well, again, with Scream, since there is no Ghostface. I always, when
Hmm.
I see like, oh, Ghostface versus Michael Myers, well, which Ghostface do you mean? What's so
Exactly.
great, you can do multiple Scream trilogies. Like, okay, right now we're in the Sam and Tara era. Then who's to say what the next era is going to be? And that's what's so brilliant about this franchise. Again, the TV show should have been more. It should have been, I like
Yeah.
the first two seasons. We don't talk about the third season. But what would that show? It could have been that anthology.
Yeah.
You like, or I haven't seen I know what you did last summer TV show, and as Scream fans, that they're like our first cousins. The I know what you did last summer movies. You don't like them?
No, no, sorry. I was just doing a little inside thing. No,
Oh, okay.
the TV show was rough, man.
So don't even bother watching it.
Well, I hate to say that, but you might find I let me put it this way. I only watched the last half to see who
Oh,
who the killer was. That's the only reason. I just wanted to know.
okay.
I lost pretty much all interest in it. It was not well done in my opinion. Okay.
I get it. I get it. So basically just go to Disney Plus and watch the Boy Meets World episode, and then there was Sean, and you'll get a better I know what you did last summer TV show than that TV show. And again,
Nice.
to hop back to that, Kevin Williamson is my favorite screenwriter. I've said this. Dawson's Creek, Dawson Leary is the reason I became a filmmaker. I have no shame in admitting that. And when I started the Smells Like Teen Horror podcast, it was mainly to focus on the Kevin Williamson era of slashers because it did something so different. Again, I made a movie set in the 80s, but the late 90s is my decade. And what I love about that so much is characters became the focal point instead of the killer. I mean, sure, we know Nancy Thompson is awesome. Allison in, Nightmare 4 is great. Tommy Jarvis is an icon. But other than that, what and Ash Williams, obviously the king. But
Yeah.
other than that, what characters in the 80s, other than the killers, immediately pop in your head? But then when you get to the late 90s, all of those, even the worst of those movies, you either care that you don't want the characters to die, or you care enough to want them to live.
Yeah. Yeah, very true. Yeah, and one thing about the Scream films in particular was how well the characters were developed to the point that you did care about them. I mean, even in Scream 1, like Tatum, I
Oh,
cared about
geez.
Tatum. She's
Yeah.
great. I didn't want her to die. And you
Yeah.
know, Randy, of course, all the just a brilliant job, brilliant write. Kevin Williamson knows how to write characters, and I love
Oh,
that about him.
yes.
And I will have to say, I do enjoy Scream 5, and I will also admit, though, it's my least favorite Scream film of all of them.
Really?
Oh,
Wow.
yeah,
Mm,
it is. It's my last
mm,
ranked film, and it's not because it's a bad movie. It is a good movie, but it was missing so much of what I love from the original four. The
mm.
character development. There's really only one character, and that I personally really care about right now in the core four. Honestly, is Tara. I connected with her, Jenna
Hmm.
Ortega's character,
Mm.
Okay.
and
I
so yeah.
oh no, no, go ahead. And I have a question that that pertains to all what you guys have been talking about. But go ahead and finish. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, the reason I brought that up was not to slam on five, but to emphasize how I believe if Kevin Williamson had written that movie, I would have
Oh,
probably
yeah.
cared about all four of the core four.
Oh, yeah. It's that we
Yeah,
didn't get enough. And this is always a good thing when you're talking about a movie. I wanted more time with them.
yeah,
I
that's
would
right.
have loved it if you would have had Randy and the Meeks twins' mother. After Mindy gives that big speech, I talked about this in fan service. I wanted, what was her name again? Randy's sister?
Martha.
I wanted, after Mindy gives that speech, I wanted Martha to look at Dewey and go, she is her uncle's niece. That would have been
Yeah,
such a cute, feel good moment for us, you
it
know?
would have. Yes, it would.
To go along with that, because obviously, like hearing you guys talk, and I think and this kind of goes without saying, but to go back to like the generations. So if this generation, their entry level or entry movie to the Scream franchise is what, number 5, right?
Five.
Yeah.
And this may be horrible to say, but they go, man, it's really great. um what would you say to them? What would the discussion be? And also, have you had these discussions on your channel?
You mean like ranking
Yes,
discussions, or?
yeah.
We have touched on it on my channel quite a bit. And in fact, I did a poll on the channel about a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago at the most. And I said rank the Scream films basically.
Yeah.
And it was real interesting how very different everyone's rankings are. It's incredibly, and I was surprised how much variance there is in the Scream fandom on
Really?
these movies as far as 1 to 5, where are they
Yeah.
at?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I've had people, I even know several people, not even like one, like a few people that have Scream, a sequel ranked above Scream 1,
That
which blows
blows
my
my
mind. I don't
mind,
understand
man.
that. I don't know how
Mm.
you get there, but I'm like, you know what? Listen, that's the beauty of art, because
Yeah.
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
something in one of those movies that that person connects to more than
Mhm.
any other movie in the franchise. So that's their favorite.
And that's
And
all it takes.
that's all it
It's
takes.
like
Yeah.
That's
with
crazy.
me,
That's
I'll
crazy.
I'll
Yeah.
admit the original Halloween is the best, but
Yeah.
part 4 is my favorite. And
Oh,
H2O. And
yeah. There you
but
go.
if gun to my head, which is better? Oh, the original is way better than part
Yes.
4, but I saw it in the theater as a little kid. And my, lifelong crush on Danielle Harris started then.
It's funny you mentioned 4, because I love 4 and I love H2O. Those are probably my favorite sequels prior to the current trilogy. And so I know one of my real faithful supporters on the channel, great guy, he Bob Hunt, and the other day we were having a conversation about Halloween, and he said that Halloween 4 is his favorite because of the same reason. It was his very first experience of
Yeah.
Halloween.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
he's his personal favorite over
Yeah.
all of them. So
Yeah.
I think, what's going to happen here to your question, a lot of people that experience Scream and 5 and they loved the movie
Yeah.
and they've never seen one before, that is going to be the standard in their minds to reach.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so as they look back on the movies, if whatever it is about this movie they loved isn't present in those movies, they're
Yeah.
never going to like those better.
All bets are out. Yeah.
All bets are
Exactly.
off.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
see that as this cool, beautiful thing that there are things that this generation can connect to in that movie. Maybe that's why we wanted more out of them. But, a sick 15-year-old who saw it, they're like, oh man, I'm exactly like Wes, or I'm exactly like Chad. That's who I relate to. And I have a thing about Chad. I think Dewey was the heart of this franchise.
Yes.
Gail is the brains, and Sydney is obviously the face of it. I want Chad for the first time to be the muscle, because he's an
There you
athlete,
go.
like him,
Yeah.
instead of running from Ghostface, running towards,
Mhm.
and, being willing to put up a fight against him. That would be an interesting thing to have.
Yeah, totally.
Let me go back to, because I keep looking through your YouTube, and it really blows my mind that you have all kinds of, it looks like, great interviews, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
With like the cast, people from the
Yes.
cast,
That's right.
right?
Yeah.
And now are those looks like those were live streamed, right?
Yeah. So far, everyone that I've had on for interviews, I always give them the option. So we can do this one of two ways. Which are you more comfortable with? We'll go that way.
Right,
And
right.
whenever I throw the option of having fans on the live chat asking
To the
questions, they're
fans.
like, "Let's go, yeah, let me. I want
Wow.
to interact with the fans." So all of them, whether it's Catherine Comey from Sleepaway Camp who played Meg,
Mhm.
um, or Lorraine Prescott, Lynn McCree, or Nancy Ann Ritter, or Mike Vaughn, who was the voice of Brandon James, the killer in the first two seasons of MTV
Yeah.
Scream, or Leanne Kerr, which is she is so intelligent, such a great
Super
guest,
nice too.
super nice. She is. She's come back twice. We
Yeah.
I interviewed her, and then she came back to do a watch party live of her
Yeah.
movie, and
That's
so
friggin' awesome.
it was so cool having her. She was giving us insight behind the scenes as we're
Yeah.
watching her movie, and she wrote and
Wow.
directed the whole thing, which was just
That's so
fantastic.
cool.
Wow.
So cool. And
And
so
that
I'm
was a
sorry. I'm
great movie too. When I heard the
Yeah.
name, I thought it was a remake of the one from the 80s.
I know, I know. Student Bodies. Oh, totally different movie.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, in so many ways.
The first
Um,
time I didn't immediately dislike Harley Quinn Smith in a movie. She was actually
yeah,
really good in it.
she was good. They the young cast they had, and they filmed that movie in like 18 days.
Jeez.
That's it. In that movie, in like 18 days, or maybe in 15 days. I can't remember now. It was ridiculous how they got that movie done so quickly, and so she's and what's great is she's writing a new story, a ghost story right now, and she
Wow.
said that
Okay.
she's hoping to have it going into production first of the year.
That's awesome.
And so she said she's promised me an exclusive to be her very first interview before she goes anywhere,
Very cool
Nice.
which
when
is
stuff
really
like that
fun.
That's cool.
happens.
You know, that
So
that
cool.
really speaks to like not only like your channel, but to who you are as a person for for somebody at that level and that caliber to go like, "Hey, I'm gonna give you an exclusive."
That's
And I
huge.
mean, it
Yeah.
speaks to you as a person, obviously to your character. Talk if you can, because I mean, you do a lot of, because to go back to your content and your content creation, so tell us, because everybody that I think that knows you obviously right through YouTube and stuff, but for our something podcast listeners who are probably and maybe new to who you are and what you have on your YouTube, um tell us just a quick, because you obviously have cast and crew interviews, right? What other stuff do you do on your channel?
Okay, sure. So in addition to doing interviews, which I really enjoy, I also do content where I do updates and news on like breaking news on Scream 6, on Halloween Ends. As stuff comes out, I try to get it out as quick as possible. And I also do a lot of theory videos, which I love
Yeah.
theories. I love talking possibilities. Like where could we go? What can we do here? What clues do we have? You know, going back to solving the mystery I was talking about earlier,
Yeah.
Scooby Doo
Yeah.
sleuthing skills. But I love theory videos, tons of those. I also do live streams, which, like I mentioned earlier, where I'll just go live and talk like what we're doing right here, just having a
Yeah.
conversation,
Sweet.
talking about horror films. Let the live chat kind of lead the way sometimes.
And that's some of
And
my favorite stuff
yeah.
of yours is the live streams.
Oh, thank you, man.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I never live streamed for the first 2 months. And I said, when I hit 1,000 subs, I want to do something different. So I'm gonna do 1,000 subscriber celebration live stream. And I was nervous as could be going live. There's something about seeing
Yeah.
that light on the
Yeah.
camera and
Mm-hmm.
knowing you're live. Like there's
Yeah.
no editing. This is it,
Yeah.
man.
Right.
And
Right.
it's so crazy.
Yeah.
It's scary. But you know what happened? I did it that first time and I really enjoyed it. I actually having that real time interaction. And then it was like a light bulb went off in my head that said, this is the way you build relationships. You know,
Yeah.
Yes.
and so I now, as a content creator, I've got this philosophy. You making videos builds your channel. but live streams build your relationships.
Oh,
And
that's
they're
good.
two different things. They're completely separate from one another.
Yeah.
To connect with what you were saying earlier, it's when you answer someone's question in a live stream, when
Mhm.
it's not a super chat,
Right.
that's what makes someone like, wow, maybe that person might not have had their voice heard all day. But a simple
That's
thing
right.
like that from someone that's tangible, it means something. Like, I remember I told you this story, Larry, like 2 years ago. I'm a big gamer. I was playing on Xbox Live, and these kids randomly found me. And they're like, I told them about the podcast, and they started listening and then just kept hitting me up with questions about the podcast. It's because of things like this where the person you're a fan of is tangible.
Right.
There's not that big, huge wall separating
Yeah.
someone
Yeah.
who makes something you like from you. You
Right.
could get a hold of this person and they'll respond to you.
Yeah.
Now, let's get into your theory videos because you are the conductor of the stew train. Now, I have purchased my ticket. To be
Yes.
fair, in a few days, I am gonna, go to Fate decided and get the death certificate and put them both up on my wall, just to be fair. But I'll admit, at first, I didn't know about this whole stew train thing. Then listening to more of your stuff, and CZ's World put out something about in Stab. How would they be able to get that call so accurate unless someone was alive? So explain the stew train to Larry.
Oh, yes. So, Larry, I am the self-professed conductor of the stew train. And what that is the train that's everyone's coming aboard on for the return of Stu Macher to the Scream franchise, not as a forced ghost hallucination like we saw with Billy Loomis in Scream 5, but a real life, flesh and blood character again to the franchise. And I believe that he is without question alive. He did not die in 96. I think that we have a lot of good reasons to believe that to be true. And I do believe he's going to come back. So I basically offer stew train tickets. Anyone who wants to be on the train can buy a ticket. They can come aboard. And next month, I got to tell you, and people, my channel members and my subscribers are very excited about this. I am in the middle of designing stew train merchandise right now that will be coming out next month. So we'll have shirts. We're gonna have everything.
I'll buy one.
Oh, hey, see, there you go.
Freaking cool.
I got people I'm seriously asking me all the time, when is the stew train coming out? When's the stew merch coming out? I said, it's coming out in June, because on June 18th on my channel, little shameless promotion here. On June 18th, I'm going to conduct what is to be the most epic, monumental live stream dedicated to Stu Macher's return that's ever been done. I've got 5 people helping me out. This is going to be, we are turning over every rock, every objection, everything that could be a stumbling block to his return. And we're going to collectively provide lines of evidence, cumulative answers to make folks see that there is a reasonable reason to believe he's alive and that, yes, he could come back in this current storyline, not for fan service, for enhancing this story. The connections are all there, and we're going to talk about them.
One thing that I've been thinking about is when you think about Dewey, his main thing was to protect everyone. And what better way to protect Sydney than not telling her, not like as in lying, but keeping this from her so she could live a happy, somewhat well-balanced life.
True.
And again, like you said, in 5, they always talk about him. It feels like the present tense. Like he was Billy Loomis's accomplice, not he, not, what I mean? Like that.
No, I do. Yeah.
I feel that the ending of 6 somehow we'll see Sydney in one scene in the beginning or middle. Then at the end, the phone call's going to be, I still have a thing for you, Sydney. Fade to black.
Yeah, see,
Oh.
now that's what I'm talking about right there. And it's interesting you say, reasons and motives and clues, because I 100% agree that there are actually clues in five that point us to Stu. In fact, he's referenced more in Scream 5
And
than any
Billy.
sequel. Any
Mm.
sequel, he's
Yeah.
referenced more. His name comes up. And also, they're in his house, again, reminding us of Stu Macher in his house. All these things. I put out 2 videos just this week. One's called Stu's Motives, where I
Mhm.
give you what I believe are his 3 top motives for wanting to return to the franchise.
Mm.
And then 2 days later, I posted a video called Stu's Clues, not Blue's Clues, Stu's Clues. And it is the clues for Stu and Scream 5. They're both up right now on the channel. And I'm telling you guys, there are breadcrumbs in 5 that already are pointing us there. And I think the ending of 6, you nailed it, Eric. I think it's going to be Sydney getting that phone call when everything's over. We
Mhm.
think it's time to say goodbye. Everyone's feeling good. And she gets a phone call and her face turns from Eric, here's my thing. I almost don't want us to hear.
That would be even better because
I
it's
don't
Mm.
more what's going on.
what's going on.
Mm.
Keep us in the dark on what's said. Let us just see her pick up her phone, smiling and happy, and her face turn to this downtrodden, treacherous looking face where she's worried and concerned. And then all of a sudden, she says something like either she does this, either she says nothing, we just see the face, and then bam, in credits,
Hmm.
or she says something like, it can't be, bam,
Hmm. Yeah.
or she says, how did you find me? Bam.
Hmm.
Those are scenarios would be amazing. And then we
Mm.
give us 2 years, or if they're fast tracking it like this one, give us a whole year
Of
for us
build
to
up.
sit here and theorize who's on the phone,
Hmm.
what's it going to be, what clues do we have, and just drive ourselves insane to find out if that's Stu Macher or not. That's incredible right there, man.
And you know
See,
what? Oh, go on, Larry.
that's how you build a community, and that's how you get. But it's not a grassroots thing because that's what everybody loves to talk about. But it really is to try to get something. How much promotion? Because I'm still kind of like how much promotion, or do you do any promotion for your channel?
I don't do any promotion. Oh, well, I say that. I do social media. I
Right,
do
right.
post. I have a Twitter and and an Instagram. I do post there, but that
Yeah.
just goes out to my followers who are following me. So I don't do
And
anything else. No.
but no real, because now we're getting back to like the independent filmmaker, like putting their, how do you get the word out about who you are and what you do? Because I think that obviously you can build it, and you can make it, and you could put it out, but how do you get people to notice you without putting a bunch of advertisements on social media or things like that?
Man, the answer that I have is I don't do anything. I think it's organically growing,
Mm,
organically itself. It's like, because people share word of mouth, and then all I know is that it's just growing without any of those extra things.
right.
I'm real committed to my social media. Anytime I post a video, I post a link on Twitter and Instagram, and then I do community post in my YouTube channel, which is
Hmm.
also sent out to people. The
Yeah.
algorithm sends it out to, so non-subscribers see those too. So that
Yeah.
might help bring people to the channel. But
Yeah.
I don't do anything else outside of just making content the best I can, making thumbnails that I feel
Hmm.
can compete with any
Yeah.
size channel. That's
Yes.
very
Yes.
important to me.
It's very, yeah.
I mean, I work on my thumbnails as hard as my videos till
Wow.
until I feel in my mind. Now, somebody may look at them and say, "Oh, I don't like it," and that's fine.
They're
But
always
to
good.
me, I want to feel like I nailed it. Like I want to have that
Yeah.
satisfaction within myself when I look at it.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that those are huge because when you're in a sea of channels, of thousands and
Yeah.
thousands and thousands of
Yep.
channels, when someone gets a recommended video, if that thumbnail doesn't grab them right then,
Hmm.
they're never going to watch. They're never going to
Right.
learn who you are.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I thoroughly believe that the thumbnails are a huge part of attracting an audience because it's going to make
Hmm.
them watch your stuff. And my
Yeah.
hope is is that once they watch it, they're going to stick around. They're going to like the content.
Yeah.
You know what? You know what? I'm going to stay now I want to see what's going on with this guy. And
Yes.
I think that's what's been happening. To be honest with you, I think that's
Yeah.
what's been
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
It is, and it is a thing, because once you do something organically, that's real and tangible, instead of trying to do the reach, and then you're always trying to reach everybody. And
Exactly.
that's where it gets frustrating, I think. And um where you're just trying to chase after stuff. But if it's
Yeah.
just, and that's how you know that what you're building is meaningful. And I think that's the biggest thing, because I'm
and
trying to search
Mhm.
for other things, but really the bottom line is the meaningfulness of it. Because again, in that sea of fill in the blank content, whatever it is, the things that really stand out are the meaningful conversations that are built around a community. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
and
you have put, oh God, man, you really probably don't sleep at all.
Not much. Not much, man.
And I think that we should definitely have you back on to just talk about how to grow a
Heck
channel,
yeah.
Oh yeah, I'd
separate
love
from
to.
all
That
of
would be
this
great.
stuff. And
That would be great.
I
Yeah.
just again want to thank you, Stephen, so much for coming on the show. It was an absolute joy. It felt like just catching up with an old friend and having a I don't drink coffee, but having an iced tea with, and just reminiscing about stuff.
Yeah.
And we definitely want to have you back on just to talk
Yes.
about anything. Maybe we'll do a ranking of another franchise. As I said, all
Yes.
of Steven's links will be in the description if you're listening in over on Anchor. And if you're watching on YouTube, everything will be in here. Please send me your two friends' YouTube channel links, email them to me so I can put them in the descriptions also. And
Yeah.
everyone, we're so glad that we can come on here and entertain you for
Yeah.
like an hour or so because of all the horrible things that are going on in our world. And this video will be up Monday. And I think the way we end the show was perfect with this, Larry. Remember, everybody, support our troops.